BC's health minister is looking for answers as two Canadian airlines are lifting their in-flight distancing rules tomorrow. Adrian Dix says he wants proof that it's safe for Air Canada and WestJet to scrap their seat distancing measures. He says wearing masks on board planes is not an alternative to physical distancing. Transport Canada says it's encouraging airlines to space out their passengers, but those measures are not mandatory.
My expectation would be to hear from all of them as to how this decision was determined at the federal level and what the evidence is that says that in this case, a reduction of physical distancing is acceptable.
Now, with more on this policy change, we're joined by air passenger rights advocate Gabor Lukács. And good morning, Gabor. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
So airlines say in the absence of those physical distancing rules, other safety measures will continue to be in place, like masks and air filtration systems on planes. What's your reaction to this?
I'm deeply concerned about it, just as BC health officials are.
Why is that?
I don't believe that the measures the airlines are doing are sufficient. If you need to have physical distancing when you're outdoors, you certainly need to have physical distancing when you're in a closed space on board an aircraft.
And Transport Canada did lift physical distancing among the key ways to help prevent the spread of the virus in a guide that was issued to the aviation industry in April. That's still their recommendation. So where does this new directive come from?
Apparently, the airlines are following the lead of their trade association, IATA, but that organization is not a public health expert. The public health experts continue to recommend physical distancing. So essentially, airlines are putting profits ahead of passenger safety.
So on that note, when you say they're putting profits ahead of passenger safety, we are starting to see air travel pick up. Do you think this policy change is a result of that increased demand?
The airlines are trying to make more profit. They seem to be getting more demand, so they think that they can now do something with those middle seats. But in practice, they seem to be playing Russian roulette with passengers' lives and with those of the lives of people at the destinations who may be getting infected as a result.
So let's talk about passenger rights. If a passenger purchased a ticket expecting not to have anyone sit in the seat next to them, now that won't be the case. What recourse is there?
The passenger can demand a refund. Airlines will likely stonewall them, but ultimately the passenger would likely prevail in court or even through a credit card chargeback because they are not getting the services they had originally paid for.
As you mentioned, BC's health minister, health officials here pretty adamant that there needs to be proof that these measures will still be safe. Could airlines be forced to reverse course on this decision they've made, and how would that happen?
Yes, the federal government has the legal authority to impose that as a requirement, to impose physical distancing as a legal requirement on the airlines mandatorily, and then the airlines have to comply.
In your role, of course, as a passenger rights advocate, you are in touch with passengers throughout this pandemic. I'm sure you've heard a lot from them. What kind of reaction are you hearing from travelers?
Most travelers are profoundly concerned about it for the same reasons that the BC health officials are concerned.
All right. Well, we'll continue to see where this goes and how this pans out and whether the airlines will end up reversing course on this decision or not. Airline passenger rights advocate Gabor Lukács, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.